In December 2005, the Cincinnati Bengals made Carson Palmer the highest paid player in the National Football League. 6 years, $118 million. 10 days later, he threw one pass in the playoffs. The ball traveled 66 yards, a perfect strike. Carson Palmer never saw it land. He was already on the ground, and his knee was already destroyed. His surgeon didn't call it a torn ACL. He called it devastating and potentially career-ending. The kneecap dislocated. The MCL wasn't torn. It was shredded. The highest paid player in football held the title for 10 days. Then one snap took it all away. This is the story of the best quarterback the Cincinnati Bengals ever had, and how one play in one playoff game broke a career that was headed somewhere historic. To understand what Cincinnati lost, you have to understand what they had. Carson Palmer won the Heisman Trophy at USC in 2002. 6'5", a cannon attached to his right shoulder. Scouts called him the cleanest quarterback prospect in years. And in 2003, the worst franchise in football took him first overall. Let's be honest about what the Bengals were at that point. They hadn't had a winning season since 1990. They hadn't sniffed the playoffs in over a decade. Marvin Lewis arrived the same year Carson Palmer did, and Lewis made a call that seems insane now. His number one overall pick did not throw a single pass as a rookie. Palmer was the backup for a full season, while John Kitna took every snap. In 2004, they finally handed Palmer the offense. It was ugly early. Then, down the stretch, something clicked. The balls started coming out on time. The deep shots started landing. And for the first time in years, Cincinnati had a reason to believe. Then came 2005. It was one of the best seasons any Bengals quarterback has ever played. 3,836 yards, a league-leading 32 touchdown passes, a 101.1 passer rating, a franchise record at the time. He led the entire NFL in completion percentage too. Nobody in Bengals history had ever thrown it like this before. And this wasn't garbage time stat padding. Cincinnati started 4-0. They won the AFC North at 11-5. They locked up their first playoff berth in 15 years. Think about what that meant in that city. There were grown adults in Cincinnati who had never once seen their team host a playoff game. Carson Palmer changed that in his second year as a starter at 26 years old. In late December of 2005, the Bengals front office tore up his rookie deal and handed him a 6-year extension worth $118 million. At that moment, no player in the NFL was paid more. The plan was obvious. This was the guy for the next decade. Peyton Manning and Tom Brady owned the AFC, and Cincinnati believed they had a guy who could compete at the top of the league. January 8th, 2006, wild card round. Pittsburgh at Cincinnati, the first home playoff game at Paul Brown Stadium ever. Second snap of the game, Palmer's first pass of the day. He uncorks a 66-yard rainbow to rookie Chris Henry, the deepest completion of the entire season. And while 65,000 people tracked the ball downfield, Kimo von Oelhoffen, a former Bengal, dives low into Palmer's left knee, completely accidental. Von Oelhoffen was crushed by it. That part matters, so hear it clearly. There is no villain on that play. But the knee didn't care about intent. ACL, torn, MCL, shredded. So badly, his surgeon said the damage was off the charts. Kneecap dislocated, cartilage damaged. The surgeon's exact words, devastating and potentially career-ending. Pittsburgh won that game and ended up becoming Super Bowl champions. The Bengals went home, and the highest paid player in football went to an operating room in Houston, where doctors rebuilt his knee using grafts and donated tissue. 10 days. That's how long Carson Palmer got to stand on top of the mountain. Here's the part that gets forgotten. Carson Palmer's comeback was a medical miracle. He didn't miss a year. He didn't miss a month of the next season. He was under center on opening day, 2006, 8 months after an injury that usually ends careers. And he made the Pro Bowl that same season. The talent survived the hit. What didn't survive was everything around him. Because this is where the real story starts. Not on an injury, on a franchise. They had their superstar QB back, healthy, signed for a decade, and they wasted him. The window that opened in 2005 slammed shut. In 2008, Carson Palmer tore a ligament in his throwing elbow and missed most of the year. By 2010, Cincinnati collapsed to 4-12, and Palmer had seen enough. In January 2011, he asked out. He told the franchise that drafted him number 1 overall that he would rather retire than play another down in Cincinnati. And owner Mike Brown's response became infamous. He has retired. I wish him well. If he is going to walk away from his commitment, we're not going to reward it. That was the franchise quarterback, the Heisman winner, the man who gave this city its first playoff berth in 15 years and shredded his knee doing it. And the owner shrugged him into retirement at 31 years old. Palmer sat out. He meant it. And it took a desperate team to break the standoff. In October 2011, Oakland lost their starter, panicked, and sent Cincinnati a first and second round pick for a quarterback who technically wasn't even playing football. Cincinnati got the better end of the trade. Oakland had 2 rough seasons, and in 2013, Carson Palmer got shipped out to the Arizona Cardinals. And most of the football world wrote the ending. Number 1 pick, 1 great year, wrecked knee, cautionary tale. Most of the football world was wrong. 2015, Arizona. Carson Palmer is 36 years old, 1 year removed from tearing the same ACL a second time. Both of his ACL tears, by the way, came days after signing a contract extension. And at 36, on a twice rebuilt knee, he plays the best football of his life. Career highs across the board. Arizona goes 13-3 with the number 1 offense in football. Carson Palmer made second team All-Pro and finished in the MVP conversation. 10 years and 2 franchises removed from Cincinnati. He was playing the best football of his life. He even got the playoff win Cincinnati never gave him. 1 game from the Super Bowl, NFC Championship at Carolina. And then it all came apart. 4 interceptions, 2 fumbles, 6 total turnovers in a single game on the biggest stage of his life. The Panthers won 49-15, and when it was over, Carson Palmer said staring across at that sideline would haunt him for the rest of his life. He never got back. 2 years later, he retired. 15 seasons, 46,247 passing yards, 294 touchdowns, 1 playoff win, and 0 snaps in a Super Bowl. So here's the question this channel exists to ask. What was taken from Carson Palmer on January 8th, 2006? Because we know what he was before the hit. The best young quarterback in the AFC, not named Brady or Manning, with a league-leading arm and a locked-in decade ahead of him. And we know what he still was 10 years later, at 36, on that knee, leading the NFL in yards per attempt. The peak was real. The peak was always real. What he lost was the runway. 1 snap took his knee. Then his own franchise took the rest, wasting the prime of a rebuilt superstar and shrugging him out the door when he finally asked for better. Carson Palmer didn't fail to reach a Super Bowl. Football took the years he needed to get there, and Cincinnati burned the ones he had left. Here's what I want to know. If Kimo von Oelhoffen falls 1 foot to the left, does Carson Palmer beat Pittsburgh that day? And does the AFC of the 2000s become a 3-quarterback conversation? Drop your answers in the comments. And if you were in Paul Brown Stadium on January 8th, 2006, tell me what that silence felt like. I want to hear it. We tell the stories the NFL buried. New documentary every week. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. This is the Game Day Giants. Thanks for watching.